Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at some Montana games I had during the bounty event. That was the other weekend. I guess that's 2 weekends ago now. I had some fun trying to play my Montana with a maximum tank build here. I'm going for as much healing and tanking as I possibly can because I'm going to be the target. This event was all about having designated ships that you were trying to take down if they were on the enemy team, or you were trying to protect if they were on your team. I might have made things a little difficult for my teammates, but it was incentive for them to push up with me, right? If I just go charging into the enemy team, right? We're gonna have some fun with this one. Montana, of course, a very tanky battleship. It always really has been. And even though the legendary upgrade has been nerfed from when I enjoyed it all those years ago, it still can be reasonable to use. This ship has improved heals over regular battleship heals. They're not Conqueror level super heals, but you can see we get nearly 24,000 HP out of each heal. Broadside Montana takes 43k though, so you still want to be angled with this ship, certainly. Angled, you're pretty tanky. Broadside, sure, your waterline citadel can be hit. Not always, but it can be. Unfortunately, we do get a little bit of damage into this enemy Montana. It's going to be a very, very nice game for Monty, where our dispersion doesn't really troll us, and we have a relatively comfortable time here just slow pushing this flank. It's not always going to happen. I have a second game to show you where I tank a lot, but don't do all that much damage. But for now, let's enjoy the good dispersion while it's here. Broadside Novosibirsk, tier 11 super Russian cruiser. One shot, just like that. That's what we like to see out of a Montana. 2 salvos here, or pretty much 2 salvos, 100k damage. That's a pretty good start. That's a pretty good start, I gotta say. Feels pretty nice to have a Monty doing that kind of damage. Now, dealing with kiting, bow in Monties like this, not gonna be the best idea. So I'm looking towards the middle of the map here. San Martin, possible opportunity for us. I don't really think I'm going to do all that much damage to these Montanas that are angled, because I know how tanky they can be. Could always swap to the high explosive on a ship like this, but honestly, I just enjoy AP far too much. I want to go for those dev strikes, and if I have HE, well, then I'm not ready to possibly punish someone for making a mistake, going broadside, that kind of thing. Montana is one of the oldest battleships in the game, but it's still an excellent one, and really good for newer players too, just because it is quite tanky and it does the whole classic battleship role extremely well. We're going to lose a ton of HP to submarines. That's just kind of how it works when you push into a sub. You just pay your taxes and you move on, right? We try to deal with this Monty as he turns out, but I don't think I get too much damage. We take a pretty decent hit to our superstructure. It is much smaller than a GK superstructure, but you can still take some damage to superstructures. That's what happens to battleships at these higher tiers, and that's okay. But what's not okay is a submarine in our face. Popping up out of nowhere, as submarines tend to do. A great addition to the game, obviously. But we take him out. Get ourselves a dev strike there, number 2 on the submarine. Very fortunate that he misplayed there, but that was sarcasm. I really don't like the submarine addition to the game. I think it's horrible. Gotta call out the sarcasm just so I'm very clear in these videos. But 142k, pretty good start here. I'm gonna take a little pause, a little checkpoint here. We'll cut forward. But this is often what I'm talking about in battleships. If you're pushing, you want to have island cover, or in the case of a Sicilia, Colombo, you have a smoke screen to give you that checkpoint of sorts, where you're able to go dark, stay undetected, not get shot at for a while. Let your consumables reload, get yourself a heal or 2 in, and recharge for the next engagement. That's the whole idea behind the checkpoints that I like to find. And then, of course, isolating 1v1s, right? That is another technique. Sure, Monty isn't a secondary battleship, but because we're so tanky, and these guns are so punchy at close range, we can do some really good things when we get close to the enemy team. Or at least I hope so. It's not always going to work out for you, but I think Montana is a pretty good option for this. And for newer players, I think that's especially true, just because this ship will teach you the basics of battleships very well. There's no gimmicks here to rely on, like a smoke and sap in the case of a Colombo, or just a ridiculously overly tanky hull like a Kremlin, but lackluster guns. Or you get things like a St. Vincent, where you're extremely quick, you have a super heal, but then your armor's not as good, and you rely a little more on the HE, things like Conqueror as well. I think those ships are very strong, don't get me wrong, but for newer players, when you're learning the game, it's a lot to think about the basics of positional play alongside taking advantage of all of those gimmicks, I guess we could call them. So that's where Monty can be a really good choice. You do have a few options going up the American line. It can be a little painful around tier 5, 6, and 7, where you don't have much speed and you don't have any armor as well. A lot of overmatch through you at those tiers. But at the higher tiers, it gets quite good, I think. Dealing with this team, though, unfortunately, I pushed in and didn't manage to take out too many of the enemy ships here. Or not enough, I guess. Our team lost a little bit harder than we were winning here on the A flank. They were on the C side of the map. And we couldn't quite push through as quickly as the enemy team did. So this one, not going to end in a victory, unfortunately. But we can still turn and push in, hopefully. Try and get a long range shot here, or longer range shot on this cruiser. I'm expecting him to turn out. Typically, that's what cruisers do. They kind of turn away from a battleship salvo. And he kind of did, but last minute turned back in. And I guess it was over an island, so a little awkward trying to aim there. So unfortunately, it goes a little high, and we get a bunch of overpens. But even at mid to long ranges, Monty can be a little bit vulnerable to citadels. You do still need to think about angling this ship. And we get another one there, another 30k. The guns were working in this game, certainly. 222 already, feels pretty good. We are about to lose the game, and I'm pushing enemy spawn. When I decided to turn in like this, I figured it wouldn't be possible for us to win. So just tried to get a few more salvos here into these guys hiding at the back and take our loss and move on, I guess. But still, doing a decent job of pushing in, tanking, and being that bounty target, right? I was hoping that I would take a lot of the focus from my teammates, and that way I could push up with my team and they wouldn't die as quickly. If I'm playing well and angled, I can take a lot of damage, a lot of hits without dying, and I was hoping that would help our team in this one. Unfortunately, did not. But hey, we nearly got 250k and 2 dev strikes. I will gladly take that, especially the one on the cruiser. That feels real nice. And we still managed to grab ourselves a dreadnought in this one, even though I didn't do the best job of tanking, at least when it comes to potential damage. Didn't even get up to 2 million. But this one, we're going to do a much better job of tanking and hopefully supporting our team. We are going to sit in the middle of the map as the bounty target, and the only bounty target in this game, and try and tank as much as we can, providing vision for our team, and also allowing the enemy team to focus us instead of our teammates is the whole idea here. And trying to live is hopefully what's going to happen, right? We don't want to just die for free like this, right? So hoping that since there's not a lot of DDs, in fact only one, there shouldn't be too much for us to worry about as far as torpedoes coming in at us. No submarine in this one either, means we're not going to just get shotgunned or something like that. Ohio coming in could be some trouble for us, but not going to be too bad. We got already over 500,000 to start, and quickly going to jump up towards 1 million just because of those long-range AP salvos. There's some pretty good alpha damage in there, and at longer ranges, they're not going to do quite as much damage to us. Little chip damage here and there to our superstructure, no big deal. Our team looks to be relatively strong in the south, honestly, so that's part of the reason I am looking towards the north. Bow towards the south a little bit more, a Slava and a Jinan down there. Not as threatening, and so I'm hoping to actually slow push this side of the B cap. This map, Okinawa, can be a little bit rough to play. Certainly not one of my favorite maps, just because the north is really the only side that you can push reliably with islands. Again, talking about checkpoints and that kind of thing. Trying to get yourself into cover every once in a while. So taking one side of this map, though, does allow you to play the B islands a little bit easier. So swapping our guns over, most of the people in the north have angled or kited or are sitting behind islands for us now. So pushed a little closer towards the B cap islands here, and now we're trying to help out our teammates in the south. But we are going to get secondaried by this Ohio for a little bit. That's some damage coming into us, but I have so much healing here, it doesn't really matter. I've actually used my first heal here now, and notice I still have 5 charges left. Don't worry, I'll show you the build at the end, but I was using all 6. I was trying to use all 6 heals that you can possibly get with a Montana these days. Of course, taking the heal buff at the 4th tier, right? But also the third tier one that reduces cooldown, as well as gives you an extra charge at 2 million potential damage. Shouldn't be too much of a problem as a bounty ship, or at least that's what I was thinking. Notice Ohio here shooting at us. I think our Harbin is in a smoke at the moment, but still, we're taking a lot of the incoming fire here, a lot of the focus, hoping that our light cruisers and lighter armored teammates are going to do a good job here of doing damage, but not having to worry about dodging incoming fire. Talon here finally going to give us a broadside, maybe? I think, yeah, he actually turns broadside as we shoot. Not advisable. Looks like he actually spotted our Cossack. That's probably why he turned. Finally going to get some damage in this one. Our guns were not performing that amazingly, at least to start with. And fortunately, I actually don't push our Harbin completely out of smoke. I was worried I was going to do that here. Now, this Ohio is just secondarying us down, right? But look at these heals, man. Another 24-ish thousand damage coming up. And that's powerful, man. It's powerful as a Montana. I don't think you should really be stuck bow in. A lot of the time, you're going to die this way. But in this search situation, I thought I could make do. 5 full pens for 10k. It's all right. And our Harbin does take some fire. So the Ohio isn't just focusing us. The broadside cruiser was enough to divert his attention. Unfortunately, he didn't get any damage on him. That feels kind of classic these days. Broadside cruiser, 10 kilometers, no damage. Poor Ohio. Ohio, of course, a very tanky battleship in its own right. And I think there's definitely an argument to be made that I should have been running an Ohio instead of a Montana if I wanted to do this. You get to your heals quicker. And even though they aren't quite as big as Monty heals, well, you're noticing that we're not actually using the full amount of that we possibly could out of these heals, right? Too much permanent damage on our ship. The heals are just a little too big. So getting them back quicker would be nice. 3.5 million potential damage at this point, and even 30k spotting damage feels pretty good. And I think I take him out here. Yeah, we finally get this Ohio. Angled ship like that, very, very difficult for us to deal with. 406 mil guns here, not a lot of overmatch. But when people are broadside, we're hoping for much more damage. Iowa here, looking to do the suicide turn, 18 kilometers. Decent dispersion even. And we're going to slow push or quickly push this flank now. Our team did a good job in the north to push them back there too. And unfortunately, our shells all go short. Probably should have aimed that a little higher. I know that there's sort of that magnetism to pull shells low, so I should have just overcompensated by leading much, much higher than I actually did. Broadside GK, we wouldn't hope for that much here, but, you know, some full pens are nice to have, and then all of a sudden, well, our guns are just going to give us a Citadel. Yeah, on a GK. So we can't touch the Iowa, but certainly we can Citadel a broadside GK. It's very interesting how this game works with battleship guns. But hey, I will take that Citadel, especially given how low our damage out was in this game so far. And after that salvo in the Iowa, very happy that we got at least one okay salvo into this GK. And even though we probably should stop pushing here, we've already won this game, I'm still just going to send it into these guys. Just to see if we can rack up some more potential damage. This wasn't quite the most that I got during this session. I was really hoping to break my all-time potential damage record, which I think is only 5.6 million or something like that. We'll take a look at that afterwards, but certainly a lot of people have way higher potential damage scores than that. But I was hoping that with this bounty event, I could run an ultra tanky Montana or something like that and get a little bit higher. But unfortunately, I wasn't quite able to make it. Although 4 million here so far is pretty good. Iowa turning broadside yet again to a Montana. This time we're a little bit closer, so maybe it will work out for us. There we go. There we go. Guns start working. Suddenly guns start working and we're nearly at 200k. Just like that. First, like half of this game, first 10 minutes of this game, struggling to even reach 100k. And then a few minutes later, and all of a sudden a couple of good salvos, we are already nearing 200. Bow in, Talon, he does not have the armor to bounce us. This is one of the reasons Overmatch is rather important for battleships, and yeah, 21k just like that. At closer ranges against cruisers, it is a very, very powerful thing indeed. And certainly not necessary. Still would recommend Monty to end this whole line to beginners, but Yamato as well can be a great one too, and that one gets a lot more Overmatch certainly. But it's nice here when a cruiser decides to angle to you and you can punch right through them. their DPM would be a problem, certainly for us, if he was auto-bouncing us at these ranges, since he could punch through us pretty quickly with the cruiser DPM. That's kind of the strength there. 4.5 million potential damage, nearly 200k, and got that dangerous bounty achievement. Finally managed to get a few kills tied together in this one. GK left, as well as in Massachusetts, but maybe pick ourselves up a Kraken here would be nice. And we're nearing 5 mil potential damage, which is pretty good. But I don't think I'm going to quite make it to my record, unfortunately. Not in this one. But maybe a Kraken would be nice to finish this one off. And certainly we do manage to get there. 200k, even in a game like this, where it felt like our guns were just not cooperating, at least for the start, still managed to pick up decent damage out of this one as well. And I do want to highlight, before we go look at this kind of silly build, purely focused in on the tanking, gotta highlight this Cossack. I had to manage to compliment him here, but also just in the video I have to highlight this. Bottom tier DD, the only DD in the game, and manages to get top score there. That is very, very impressive. Well done. As for the build here on the Montana, like I said, trying to tank as much as I could. So taking a lot of survivability upgrades here, even losing out on concealment, taking fire prevention here as well as emergency repair expert, getting 6 heals out of improved repair party readiness. AR, because it's just such a good skill, it's hard to avoid. I was taking both AA upgrades because I was sure that carriers were going to focus me as well. Didn't happen to have those in these games, but preventive maintenance as well to keep that AA alive. And then getting back to those heals quicker was the idea. Probably should have gone with Ohio, looking back on things, but I wanted to try it on Montana because we also get ourselves this legendary upgrade. 10% only for fire and flood recovery time. Those were both higher on the old skill before they nerfed it, unfortunately. But hey, still a little bit here and there lets us tank even more. The rudder shift also pretty useful. But for normal play, though, concealment's just way better because it's such a minor buff, honestly. Concealment is just so strong to have. Of course, going aiming systems in our 6th slot because it's an American battleship. So going with turret traverse here. Not needing the secondaries or extra range. I didn't think I was going to push in, or that was the idea. And that's the Monty. Tanking here worked out pretty well. Armor layout wise, you can see why it's so tanky when angled. Got some pretty good armor. Relatively small superstructure for this tier. And when angled, it is pretty difficult to citadel this thing. Broadside though, yeah, you can punch through that. But if you keep it angled, it is very, very tanky indeed. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, had some fun trying to survive as long as I possibly could. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I need to show you that the potential damage. Yeah, it was done in GK. I don't know how, because typically GK just gets farmed through superstructure, but 5.6. Didn't quite manage to beat it in this one, but I was really hoping. Maybe I'll have to try that again some other time if there's another bounty event. Or maybe I'm going to get that another way, just taking a lot of focus. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.